All right, good people. What's going on with you? What's going on? This is Mark Ross, and this is another episode of the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross. I am here to just chop it up with you all, if I may, and I think I do. I just want to get on here and talk about this thing we call love and relationships for a little bit. Talking about love and relationships. Now, I have to say I am not an expert on that particular issue, but I do take uh, I do take issue though in how people are viewing love and their expectations of what it is to be in a relationship, or even start the conversation of being in a relationship. Okay, uh, you got to forgive me, ladies and gentlemen. Just in a flat mood, and it's going to take me a little bit to get out of it. So just bear with me. All right, we'll turn the page in a minute. If you haven't done so already, please go on the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross podcast on YouTube and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to build this thing and make it bigger than what it is right now. Okay, so go on YouTube and subscribe to my podcast, if you will. Again, we're talking about relationships and the current state of relationships. Now, back in my day, when I was younger, we had a mother, father, for the most part, in the house. They worked together, they did things together, they loved each other together, correct? Then you had some that were broken. My home, for example, my biological father wasn't there, but I did have a man in my life that I called father, or I should say called. Uh, he is not with us, and my mother also is not with us. So um, there's that. But anyway, my father, or the man that I claim as father, he gave me something that really set the tone for how I look at love and relationships. Uh, and that was balance. My dad gave me balance because even though he was in my life at such a young age, I still had negative emotions about how everything went down. I blame myself for, um, was it because of me that my parents broke up, right? I had those feelings, in my heart growing up, and I didn't know how to talk about it. Um, it messed me up in a way, but after getting to speak with my father, knowing the type of man that he is and what he instilled in me, I got over that real quick. And like I said, he gave me uh, a sense of purpose and a sense of balance uh, that that in hindsight, I do wish that my biological father was there to do that, but I'm not tripping on that. I'm not mad at my biological father, nor will I ever carry that type of negative emotion towards my biological pops. But I still love my pops, though. Don't get it twisted. But anyway, I want to present this conversational piece right here. And the purpose of me doing this is to really break down uh, the issue that I think a lot of us are going through, and that is uh, what is a relationship, and what does a man and a woman have to do to sustain that? right? So let me just talk about this this scenario right quick. Okay, it reads, 26-year-old man killed his ex-girlfriend and her mother for breaking up with him. Her relatives kept warning her to leave him because of his aggressive and dominating behavior towards her. They moved in together anyway. 2 months later, she decides to end it all due to his behavior. He loses it and shoots her and her mother, who tried to stop him as he shot her. He then goes on Facebook and apologizes for his actions. My first question in terms of relationships is, was that a relationship at all? Because from my understanding, relationships, it's a two-person effort, a two-person job, right? There is no me versus you. There is no me say and you do. It's two people working together, two people loving each other together, two people working towards a common goal together. This young guy did not display any of that, in my opinion, at all. He was in it for self. And when the young girl who is now deceased had enough of the shenanigans, this young dude took it upon himself to take her out. Not only did he take her out, he took the mother out as well. And the only thing that he can do was go on Facebook and apologize. What type of shenanigans is that? So my question is for the ladies. I'm going to present this question to the ladies. When is enough for you if you are in or have ever been in a relationship that was toxic? When is enough enough? I'll let you guys answer that question whenever you see this. But again, when is enough enough? When is it time for you to say, you know what, I'm out, before it gets to the point where the guy threatens or carries out the mission of taking you out? Better yet, do you even see the signs of a toxic guy? I'll let you guys answer that. But anyway, let's talk about this thing called relationship stuff. I got some stats here that I want to read off, and it's not too good. It's not too good, but I'm going to read them off anyway. In Wisconsin, where I'm from, state of Wisconsin, there's twice as many marriages than divorces per year. In 2022, 5.3 marriages. There were 5.3 marriages per 1,000 residents. That's not a lot of people getting married. If you really sit down and think about it and do the math, a lot of people aren't taking marriage serious. I don't think a lot of people are actually taking relationships seriously, for that matter. 5.3 marriages per 1,000 residents. It's not a lot of people. Let me look at the comments here. Oh, my wife says this about the relationship piece. It's different for each person. And don't forget, women can also be toxic. This isn't one-sided. You're correct. You are correct. Relationships aren't one-sided. And that's one thing that I did mention earlier. Relationships are two people working together for a common cause. I'm not trying to sound patriotic or anything like that, but it's the truth. Relationships are two people, a man and a woman. Well, let me say this, a man or a man, or a woman, whatever. It's two people working together for a common cause. Uh, but the issue with relationships is that I don't think that it's being taken serious as it used to be. You know, back in my day, you know, I'm a Gen Xer. So, you know, my birthday was 69. Uh back in those days, guys, when we were growing up, a lot of our parents were in either married or in long-term relationships, right? And really some of us benefited from having that man and that woman in the household. Um, However, there are those who have not had that pleasure of having a good man and a good woman in the house. Some of us were raised in toxic environments. Some of us were raised in toxic environments. What's going on, Joseph? How you doing? I'm just here in the chat, acknowledging my people, all right? Some of us were not raised in good environments. Some of us grew up with the mentality that, for lack of a better phrase, men ain't shit or women ain't shit because, number one, what we saw growing up. We saw, some of us have seen the mother or the father being treated poorly by their significant other. Growing up in that toxic environment, it created a mentality of men are no good or women are no good, because this is what we saw on a regular basis. We had to grow up seeing toxicity every day, and it became a part of who we are. So growing up, we see this. So now we get the mindset that every man or every woman is going to be on that bullshit. That's not the case. But you have to think from a person who's been raised in a negative and toxic environment. My views of life is going to be far different from that person's view of life. What they view is healthy isn't going to be healthy for me because that's their normal. That's their normal. It's not my normal. You dig what I'm saying? Have a comment here. Back in the days, women were taught to stick beside their men, no matter how toxic or dysfunctional. That's very true. Very true. Times have changed and people have learned they do not have to stick with a no good person. That's why relationships do not last as long. We do better because we know better. Amen to that. Amen to that. We do better because we know better. However, some people still don't know better. It's like gaslighting, I think. You've been gaslit for so long that you, in turn, become the gaslighter. You've grown up in such a toxic environment that you become that thing that you hate the most because that is your norm. Good evening, Eric, and good evening, Ryan. How you guys doing? How you guys doing? That's your normal. And going back to the story with the 26-year-old man killing his girlfriend and his mother, this, by the way, was recent. I just never talked about it until today. There has to be some sort of level of acceptance of his toxicity that allowed her to endure his mess for that long. I don't know her background. I didn't get into I didn't really dig deep enough for all that. But when she finally decided to bust a move and leave, that's when the brother couldn't handle it anymore. And that too says a lot about how toxic he is, because maybe he came from a toxic environment as well, because who would kill somebody? I never understood that. I never understood that, how a man could take somebody out because she doesn't want to be with him anymore. I can't do that. Yeah. Got to come in here in the chat. Eric says this: I gotta run, man. I'll come back to this. It's all about self-love. It's not, if you're not loving yourself properly, it's hard to love others. It's hard to love others when you can't love yourself. True. That's true. But what's even more messed up is when you're not taught how to love yourself, that that deepens the wound, in my opinion. Does that make sense? Love is something that's taught, just like hate, just like anything else. It's taught. I think that everybody has a genuine propensity to love, but when you grow up in toxic and negative environments, that love gets shut off like a faucet. And once it's off, it's off. People have this twisted sense of love that they really don't even know what love is, even if it presented to them right in their face. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, now we have women on social media talking about what they expect out of a man. And they have these outlandish expectations of what they want out of a person to even be considered to court them. And half of these women that are out here broadcasting about what they want, they don't even live that lifestyle. They want guys with 6-figure salaries, 2-3 cars, no kids, even though there are guys out there that don't have kids. But I mean, they want men nowadays to pretty much do everything, and they sit back and do nothing. That's outlandish to me. So how can you expect to find love when A, you will never find it, B, you won't even recognize it because you're too caught up on self. You're too caught up on self. All you're thinking about is what I can get out of this person for today. That's it. You're not thinking about nobody else's feelings. You're just stuck on you. And that's a sad reality that we have to live with, because even guys, I've run into some guys who, told me what they want out of a woman. And I mean, it's not as outlandish as what women want in a man, but still it's crazy. Like, I've ran into guys who said, yeah, I'm not going to work. I want a woman to do everything, and I'm just going to sit back here, play video games, or just lay up and just, let them do everything. And sadly, there are women out there that do that. They will do all the work and let the men just, cake up at the crib. I wasn't raised in that environment, so I can't co-sign that. I won't co-sign that, but it's definitely strange and sad at the same time, where people nowadays, they have these crazy expectations of what they want out of a person. They have these crazy, outlandish expectations of what love is. Because I'm here to tell you, that ain't it. And let me say something else too. Relationships aren't meant to be easy. Marriage isn't meant to be easy. If it was, there wouldn't be that many single people walking around here, right? I want some people to comment on this as I speak on this particular issue. Again, relationships aren't easy. Marriage isn't easy. Things happen. Your love for that particular person will be tested. That the answer to that question is how you deal with it when it happens. That is the defining moment of what love is for you. What you are willing to do for your significant other, what you are willing to tolerate, what the other person is willing to do for you. It's not a one-sided coin here. It's a two-sided coin. Remember, it's two people working together. And it doesn't mean that everything is going to be peachy keen because you have your significant other at your side. What if something was to happen to your significant other? What if you had to do all the work by yourself? What would you do? How would you react to that? If one day something was to happen to your wife or your husband, God forbid, and you had to bear the burden of responsibility, what you going to do? How you going to do it? That's love. That's love. Again, if being in a relationship or being married was easy, then damn near everybody would be in, but it's not. It's not. You know, I've been married to my wife for over 9 years. It'll be 10 next May. Right? We've had a lot of good times and we had some not so good times. But through it all, we weathered the storm and we are still weathering this thing called life together. Is it easy? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But does that mean that I give up because things are hard? Does that mean that she gives up because things are hard? I want you guys to talk about this. All right, talk to me about this. How do you feel about that? Relationships and marriage, it's not easy. It's not easy. And if it was, I probably wouldn't be here talking about it. So, and what's even more concerning about marriage is that, you know, in the Black community, we don't talk about marriage nearly as much as other cultures, and not to compare apples and oranges. I'm not trying to do that, but I am bringing this point up when I talk about, you know, Black people and Black relationships. Black women in particular, as most people probably know, they're the first to divorce and the last to marry. Uh, a lot of us in our community weren't really raised uh, to look at men or women in a positive manner. because of what they went through. And so, because of what our parents or some of our parents went through with the member of the opposite sex, we raise our kids to not look at them in a positive manner. And I'll be blunt. We look at the opposite sex as you either hurt them first or they're going to hurt you first. You get them before you got, right? That's what that is. Here's a comment from Ryan. He says, just another thing that should be taught at school because this is something that's not taught at home. No, relationships aren't taught. It's not taught in a proper manner, Ryan. That's my belief. Relationships aren't really taught in a proper manner. Not everybody that you come across is going to be an asshole to you. Not everybody you meet is going to be a woman beater or a man beater for that matter. Because let's keep it real. When it comes to domestic violence, women are sometimes the abusers as well. Good evening, Miss Dana. Good evening. So, Ryan, you're saying there should be a mandatory life course. Well, hey, it should be taught because I don't think that people are truly, uh, they don't get it. A lot of people just don't get it. And it's so indicative of when you see social media posts about, uh, like I said, what women want out of a man and, uh, these outlandish expectations. It's like, no, that's not love. That's something else, you know. And to piggyback off of that, I saw something today. I saw something today. There was a woman being interviewed by a man. I want to say they were African. The woman said to this guy, "You got to pay me 3,000 just for me to tell you what her name is." What? I have to pay you $3,000 just for you to tell me what your name is? Fuck out of here. You serious? And she told the guy that you're not on my league. You're not on my league. It's that type of thinking, ladies and gentlemen, that tells me that there's a lot of lonely ass people out here. There's a lot of lonely ass people out here because how, 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 how? I don't get that. I just don't get that. I have no word. I have no I have no words for that. Back in my day, we were just raised different. We were just raised different, and you know, when life presented, obstacles, we just handled shit different. The sad thing about it, we didn't teach our kids to handle things properly. So when life happens, and it does to everybody, they go off and do their own damn thing. And 9 times out of 10, it's not the good move to do. Charity starts at home, guys. We have to be the ones to nurture, guide, and mentor our youth so that when they are old, they can go about their lives doing things right because they learn from us. They learn from us. What I'm saying is nothing new. It's nothing new. But yet and still, we have to deal with people that are trifling. It's it's a sad reality, but it's just the way that is. Then what you say? You said some men would pay, but she would be a kept woman and not the main woman. Well, if a man would pay, that is the textbook definition of a simp because I ain't doing shit. I'm gonna tell you that off the gate. I'm gonna laugh at you. And any woman that comes to my face talking that mess, that's laughable. You ain't in my league. I created the damn league because of who the fuck I am. What? 3 G's just to get the name? I don't want your name. Get the fuck out of my face while you at it. That's my response. But yeah, somewhere along the line, the concept of relationships and marriage, it fell off. It fell off. So now we have this social media, you know, fake it till you make it type of shit. You got this, BBW and, you know, we got stuff. We got a lot of stuff going on, right? And all of this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, to me, it's just a freaking gimmick. All this shit is a gimmick. And to the simps that fall in line and drop cash, you go ahead, do your thing. If I was around, I'll laugh at you though, because I don't got simpering on my head, never will. So you go ahead, do you. Uh, got some more comments here. Dana, you said a few things here. You said you have to look at it outside of who you are. And you continued saying, but that's why she said it, because she knows. Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. She knows some simp will pay for that. She and I'm gonna use that word simp. She knows somebody's gonna do it eventually. A simp doesn't know how to have a kept woman. Well, yeah, I missed that part because uh, when I saw that I got lost on that because I had to laugh internally and externally when she said that comment because that ain't me. That's not me at all. But let's talk about this toxicity thing still. All right. You know, I think coming back to my generation moving forward, we were constantly told to not trust anybody, right? Because we many of us grew up with jaded parents. Many of us grew up with that jaded mom who got screwed over by a guy. That we got screwed. We got our dad who got screwed over by the mom because she left him or whatever. So the dad he's in his chest forever. So, but we see this though. That's the problem. This in-house fighting and all this toxicity that's going on, we see this and we become a product of that environment. You know, those sort of things leaves mental scars in us, and it affects how we look at relationships. So when we grow up, we already have that toxic mindset. Fuck this dude. Fuck this chick. I ain't putting up with nothing. If you give me a glimpse of drama, I'm out. Or to the abusive dude, if you come at me puffy chested, I'm gonna knock you the freak out. Right? Talk back to me, somebody. That's who we are now because of what we had to witness growing up in toxic environments. And it's gotten to such a bad point Now, I want people to comment on this. Do you think that people nowadays are undateable because of the stuff that they witnessed growing up and the toxicity that they project out in the world and to everybody that they come across? Do you think that people are considered undateable now? Danny, you said yes. Ryan, you said yes. I think that we are witnessing people that don't want shit to do with relationships, marriage, or nothing. Nothing. They it's a sad state of affairs when it comes to uh what people perceive and what people think that they know. Oh, Danny, you changed your mind and you said no. Oh, undateable by whose standards? That's a good question. I'm posing the question though, because you have women who have unrealistic expectations of what a man is supposed to provide for them. On the flip side, you have men who have expectations of what a woman should bring to them while they sit on their behinds and do shit. That's why I posed the question. Are people undateable because of their level of jadedness, if I can use that word, which I am using? Are people undateable because refuse to uh, they refuse to bend a little bit in terms of what they expect versus what a man expects, or vice versa, right? Expectations. That's what I'm getting at. So that's why I posed the question: have people become undateable? Because what they want and what they demand, you know, is is somewhat difficult to attain. And like you said before, there's always somebody that'll do it. You know, be it a woman or a man, somebody that'll do it. But in everyday terms, is that person undateable? I mean, will they actually find that dude or that female that will give them what they want, even though they're not worth it, but they still want it? Oh, you were saying yes to something else. Okay, so all right, I got confused. And Ryan, you commented by saying by anyone that would consider dating them. Okay, all right. Is there such a thing as love anymore? Do you believe that there is such a thing as love? Are we teaching our kids that it's okay to love? Or are we teaching them to keep their hearts guarded? I'll say it again. Are we teaching our kids to love, that it's okay to love? Or are we teaching them to keep their hearts guarded? I'll answer that question for me. From what I witnessed growing up, I would say that it was okay to love. You just have to choose that right one to love. But my mom also told me to keep your heart guarded and don't give your heart to everybody and anybody. Right? It's okay to love somebody. In fact, it feels great to love somebody, but you want to make sure that you get that love in return from the person that you open your heart to. So we have to learn how to tell our kids that it's okay to open up, especially our boys. Our boys, we hold in way too much. We hold in so much that by the time we are able to release, it is so late in the game. It is so late in the game. We damaged so many relationships. The hate that we had created so many, uh, broken relationships and hurt people. My goodness, if I was told, that if there was an issue to talk about it growing up, I think I think the way that I approach love in life would be a little different. you know, uh, because I was raised to tough it up, suck it up, buttercup type shit, right? I wasn't raised in an environment where you can express your emotions. You can say, I'm mad at you, or you know, I'm hurt. You hurt my feelings, right? We weren't raised like that. We were raised to, you know, just keep that stuff inside. You don't express feelings of hurt, right? That would make you look soft in the street. Even though that's what you feel, we couldn't express that. Uh, in the house, I was fortunate to have brothers and sisters and a mother uh, that gave me the floor to talk about some things, right? But again, when I spoke to my mom about some things, she just told me, you know what, don't mind them, suck it up, don't let what they say mess you up in the head. Just keep it moving. But sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, that's not the answer that ain't the answer that I want to hear. I come to you for guidance, not to be redirected. I didn't come to you for all that. I need guidance. Don't redirect my feelings, because my feelings are valid. And I would venture to say that a lot of people, especially in my era, we had valid feelings when we were sad or hurt by something. But again, boys, we were raised different. We weren't raised to be expressive. We were raised to deal with it, suck it up. And it didn't end so well for a lot of us, because now we instill the same behavior to our kids. Suck that shit up. Stop crying. You ain't no girl. Well, fuck, I'm hurt. I need to talk to somebody about it. So we we are seeing, we are reinventing the toxic wheel. Inadvertently, we are reinventing the wheel of toxicity to our kids, because that was all we know. But now, now, I see a lot of people, Gen Xers, we're starting to realize, hey, yo, we dropped the ball on a few things, but Now let's pick it up. So now we're putting ourselves in different scenarios and different circles of people who are talking about it, who are opening up, and we're opening up to our kids. We're opening up to our kids. We're talking about it, saying, hey, Junior, this is what happened. Yada, yada, yada. You know, this happened in my life. And I see that I took it out. I repeated the same process with you. I'm here to break that. I'm seeing more people, men, men, own up to what we did and speak out on that. We're changing the narrative. We are changing the narrative because we don't want to repeat the same cycle of abuse or neglect with our kids and with their kids, right? And so on. Question in the chat, Eric, you said, how do you respond to something something said rather than react? Something said rather than react. How do I respond? Do you mean now or then? Because if I reacted to something that I said, you know, that was said years ago when I was a kid, if I said something to my mom and she gave me, she said something to me that I didn't like, you know, I would ask, hey, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? You know, and of course, you know, mom would probably backhand me or something, just tell me to be quiet because I wanted an answer for how I was feeling. I wanted something to not necessarily legitimize, but just give that reinforcement that what I am feeling, it's legit. And I want to talk about what I am feeling and how, you know what I'm saying, because this making me feel not good. I need to talk to somebody about this feeling. And like I said earlier, Eric, back, back then, conversations, it just, they weren't necessarily had. It was just something said. You may raise an opinion about what somebody did to you. And again, you know, your mom or your dad, whoever you spoke with, they may just tell you, just, you know, don't let it bother you. That's what my mom used to tell me quite a bit. Well, don't let that stuff bother you, you know. But it did bother me. It bothered me. And for you to tell me that to not let it bother me, it's like, Ma, I love you, but you're not helping. You're not helping. So again, I see guys now, older guys, we're changing the narrative. And I'm proud of the progress that we are doing because we see from our lives what we did wrong with ours. My hope is that we continue to make progress in speaking out and speaking to our kids uh, and continue to change that narrative, you know, uh, because I think it is important for us in my generation of men as fathers. Uh, we have to be that example, not just what a man is. We have to be the example of how a man should treat a lady. We have to be the example of how a man should treat their kids. We have to be that example of how a man handles business. I'm not perfect in any of those areas. Don't get it twisted. You know, I'm not perfect. That's why I'm here talking. Because I want people to know I'm imperfect, but I know enough to be here and tell you that Mark is not perfect, but Mark is trying. Mark is trying to change that narrative. And we need more brothers to get on board and change the narrative because people are watching. Still, your kids might be grown. You may have grandkids now, but guess what? People are still watching you and people are still learning from you. So let's change the narrative. Let's change the narrative. So before I go, is there anything that anybody would like to talk about at this time? Anything anybody want to talk about or get off their chest? All right. All right. Well, if no one wants to share, if no one wants to discuss, that's cool. I'm going to sign off. And this has been another episode of the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross podcast. Be sure to stay tuned for upcoming shows Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel, the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross. Please help me get this thing up and popping. Let's grow this thing and let's do beautiful things together. And remember, self-care is important. So make sure that your mental and physical health be a priority every day, always, and do it first. You guys take care. All right.